This is Home After Ambition, the podcast for women who've conquered the boardroom and embraced motherhood on their own terms. Explore what happens when boarding passes turn into bedtime stories and how to keep the ambition alive. Your host, linguist and executive leader, Apple Fox, shares honest reflections about leadership, motherhood, and becoming. Because ambition doesn't end. It evolves.
I used to close million-dollar deals. Now I close the nursery door. Motherhood arrived like a quiet interruption, a shift in authority. For most of my adult life, I trusted my mind. I decided. I organized. I optimized. Then suddenly my body was leading, and I had to follow. Welcome back to Home After Ambition. Today I want to reflect on the in-between woman. I had been vegetarian for years. It just felt natural, not strict. Meat wasn't something I missed. And then I became pregnant, and my body asked for meat. Not politely, not occasionally. It was specific, almost insistent. I remember standing in my kitchen, looking at what I prepared and thinking, this is not who I am. But there I was, eating lamb chops, just salt and pepper on the barbecue, and seafood. That was it. No sauces, no philosophy, just instinct. During pregnancy, my body wanted what it wanted. And surprisingly, I enjoyed it. That part amused me the most. After years of conviction, my body quietly said, no, not now. And I liked it. It felt grounding, heavy, nourishing in a way I hadn't expected. My body had made a decision, and my identity had to adjust. That was the first lesson I learned. Pregnancy was not asking me who I wanted to be. It was asking me what I needed. There's something humbling about realizing you are not entirely in charge, especially when you've built your life on being capable, competent, reliable. Suddenly, you're tired in a way sleep doesn't fix. Hungry in a way logic doesn't explain. Emotional in a way that has no clear direction. And you cannot push through it. You must listen. You must wait. Because pregnancy is an in-between state. You are no longer the woman you were, but you are not yet the mother you will become. There is no clear identity to stand on. You're building something invisible. I remember that season differently. I wasn't watching other women rush to meetings. I wasn't comparing timelines. I was boarding planes, flying to Greek islands, with a life inside me that barely showed. At the airport once, a staff member asked me how far along I was. When I told her, she looked surprised. She said, after 37 weeks, you'll need a doctor's confirmation to fly. And I remember smiling, not anxious, almost entertained, because physically nothing about me looked urgent. My stomach didn't really appear. And yet, there I was, carrying something enormous without it being visible. I spent that period in the sun, in the sea, floating, resting, forgetting about work without forcing myself to forget it. There were no meetings in my head, no strategies forming in the background, just warmth, salt on my skin, and time that didn't need to be productive. But still, on high heels. Not because I was trying to prove anything. Not because pregnancy is easy for everyone. I know it isn't. But because that was still me. The woman who walks with intention. The woman who dresses for her own rhythm. Pregnancy softened me, but it didn't erase me. I carried life, and I carried myself. After my child was born, the world didn't snap back into place. It reorganized itself. Time felt different. My body felt unfamiliar. And I felt very small. Not insignificant, just reduced to essentials. Feeding, holding, rocking, waiting. In those early months, I didn't have the energy for the gym. And that surprised me, because I had always returned to movement as proof of discipline. But discipline was not what I needed. Gentleness was. So instead of forcing myself into routines that belonged to my old life, I adopted. I bought a kangaroo carrier, strapped my baby close to my chest, and I walked. Long walks, slow walks, 10,000 steps, 15, sometimes 20. The rhythm of my body against my child's breathing. The city passing quietly around us. It wasn't performance. It wasn't progress tracking. It was reconnection. My body responded, not urgently, but steadily and kindly. In the evenings, after everything had softened, I created a small ritual. 5 minutes, that's all. I would stand in front of the mirror and apply my favorite skincare products, slowly and intentionally. It sounds small, but it wasn't. It reminded me that I still existed beyond function, that my face was still mine, that touch could be deliberate. Those 5 minutes felt like a bridge between who I had been and who I was becoming. And still there was fear, quiet fear, the kind you don't confess because it feels ungrateful. What if I don't come back? What if the ambitious woman I was has already lived her most visible chapter? What if this slower life is the only version left? I didn't say those thoughts aloud, but they visited me. During the walks, during the rituals, during the long nights. And slowly, without announcement, my body answered. Not with promises, with resilience. Strength returned, clarity returned, desire returned. Not in the same form, but in a deeper one. If you are in an in-between season right now, pregnant, postpartum, or simply post, I want you to notice. You are not disappearing. You are reorganizing. Identity is not lost in these moments. It is rewritten. And sometimes the body knows before the mind does. Thank you for being. If Home After Ambition spoke to you, I invite you to subscribe so we can keep these conversations going. Thank you for joining me on this reflection for the in-between woman. This wasn't a retreat. It was a woman unfolding in her own time. I'll see you soon.
Home After Ambition. Where driven women come home to themselves.